This episode has been sponsored by How2Social, the premier digital marketing agency for real estate agents and loan officers. Go to how2social.com to join the movement. Guys, welcome back to the podcast. I have a special guest that I really want you guys to give a hand for Mr. Bhavan Singh. What's going on, brother?
Hey, how are you, man? Thank you for having me on here today.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm excited. I really want to, I'm really interested to hear a lot more about kind of what you have going on and what you do. Me and Bhavan really, we met a couple weeks back at an event and just immediately clicked, man. And I just really felt like, what he's doing and the value he's bringing is, man, he's doing some great things. So as a matter of fact, instead of me talking about it, why don't you explain a little bit about, first of all, let's, a little bit about you, your history, and then kind of, and then we'll go into the business side of it.
Yeah. So, as Paul said, we met, that was only like 2 weeks ago, man.
Yeah.
I think it was actually, 2 weeks from tomorrow ago, if that makes sense. We were at a mindset summit in Austin, Texas, and we met through a mutual friend. Actually, we met because we ended up sitting next to each other at the event. And it was a great experience. We hit it off really well. Similar philosophies just about life, faith, business, finances, spirituality, all of that stuff. And so we connected. But yeah, my quick background. I actually live just outside of Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm from Orange County, California. And prior to that, I was born in Orange County, New York. So I went from OC on the East Coast to OC on the West Coast. So I guess you could say I'm an OC boy, born and raised.
Yeah.
But fell in love with Texas, by the way. Fell in love with the small towns of Texas. But did your typical thing. I come from a great family. My family did very well financially. My dad's always been self-employed entrepreneur. My mom was a doctor for the state of California. Actually, and I'm not going to say this too loud because I'm visiting my parents' house right now, but I don't even think my dad has ever filled out a W-2 before. I don't think he knows how to. And my dad's a very intelligent man. He's read most of these books. So he's very smart with money and finances. But anyways, that's besides the point. I went to school, and when I got into college, I kind of looked at my life. I was in high school, I was the goofball. I was the class clown. I was the popular guy in a small school, but I was very popular. But I was also one of those that, it was like, we don't know if this guy's going to go anywhere in life because he doesn't seem to have direction. I got 2 accolades in high school that I got recognition for. One was class clown and the other was most talkative. Those were the only 2 awards I got in high school. I legit got recognized for that. And so going into college, I was like, man, you know what? I don't want to be a doctor. Come from a family of doctors. All my cousins, all my family members, they're all doctors. And that's a very respected field. It's just not something I wanted to do. But I knew I knew 2 things. I wanted to make a lot of money, and I wanted to leave a lasting impact on this world through helping a lot of people. And so I searched for different things that resonated with me. If anybody that's listening is from Southern California, I was a college student at every community college in Southern California. I went to OCC, Irvine Valley College, Fullerton College, Cerritos College, Cypress College, Golden West College, Santa Ana College, Santa Monica College, and University of Phoenix. So I was like everywhere.
Get them all. All right, so I got to stop you real quick there.
Yeah.
What was that conversation like when you told your parents, I don't want to be a doctor?
It was very you guys have to understand, my parents are not, my mom when she was alive, and of course my dad who's still alive right now, they were happily married. But my parents are not like typical Indian parents. My mom and dad knew, I think at a very young age, they probably knew that wasn't a path I was going to want to stay on.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, every time I get in the car as a kid, he'd always have Zig Ziglar or Les Brown playing in the car. and I wanted to listen to my Bone Thugs and Tupac and Green Day and
Right.
listen, guys, I'm a huge Backstreet Boy fan. All right. So growing up as a kid, I had one dream, and that was to be the first Indian Backstreet Boy.
Hey, you
I,
still can. You're still
I,
free.
you know what? I went to their concert last year
Yeah.
with this girl I was dating at the time, and man, it was like being a kid. I think I was in a sea of all these older women, and then they had their partner, their men with them. I think I was the only guy in the audience wearing a turban, because that's how how Paul and I met. That's part of
Yeah.
my family. I was probably the loudest person there, singing all the songs, singing my heart out. I was like just totally into it. But no, the conversation was it was, one of those, my parents were like, hey, we want you to succeed in life, right? And it wasn't a conversation where they were like, oh yeah, go ahead and drop out of college and do whatever you want to do. It was like, hey, if you're going to not complete college, do something. Like,
Right.
don't just be
Right.
doing nothing.
Mhm.
And so they were very supportive, very understanding. They knew that wasn't a path for me. So I dropped out after 9 years. I joke around with people now, but you guys, I spent 9 years in community college.
You could have been a doctor.
I could have been a doctor. I mean, not, you know how many years people typically spend in community college? 2. I spent 9, and I completed 15 units, 1-5. So, again, it's because when I was in college, I was more enjoying I've always been I've never been sheltered, I guess you could say. I've always been outgoing, social. I enjoyed that. Anyways, you know, ventured out on different entrepreneurial ventures, joined a couple of companies, and they shut down. I mean, I lost, the company shut down a week after I joined. And then even though I dropped out, it took me a while before I actually realize. I tell people, and I like to be completely candid. I hope that's okay. I hope
Yeah, 100%,
if,
man.
if it makes me look bad, if somebody here says, oh man, this guy's whatever, hey, look, maybe I'm not for you then. I'm just going to be upfront. It took me a long time because I'm a very late bloomer. Because when I dropped out of college, I spent my 20s just partying and being taken care of by my mom and dad. I
Sure.
didn't really have a job. I didn't
Mhm.
have no business. I had nothing. I was living off of my parents. And it wasn't until I'm 38, it wasn't until probably my mid 30s where eventually it was when my mom got diagnosed with cancer for the second time and then passed away in 2020, between 2019 and 2020 is when I was like, hey,
Wake
maybe
up
you
call.
yeah, this is a wake up call.
Yeah.
Start being an adult, because life is precious. Like, what happens if your dad goes? What happens if yeah, I mean, start taking some things seriously. So I'm a late bloomer. I'm very candid about that. And, I share that to say, um, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And with my faith, as well, right? Because I like to share my faith with other people, and for a long, long time, I felt like a fraud, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm over here telling people about, faith, and I'm not living it, right? And just like you said, I think, and really with that is, I think it's like, to connect with people is to connect on a level like I understand. Like if I came and just was like, hey, I'm perfect, and I don't do any of these other things, but I feel like it's the same way, because like people can connect at that level because they may have done and had same situations as you, and because of that you can connect on that level, and same thing with you. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think.
And it's just, I don't want someone to, I don't want to give a false impression to
Right.
anyone either.
Right.
Um, there's a lot of that out there.
Hmm.
And I think at the end of the day, everybody's going through so many different things,
Hmm.
whatever it may be, losing a loved one, fighting a sickness, battling depression,
Yep.
or even on the good side, life is great or whatever. I
Mhm.
mean, we're all going through stuff. We're all going to go through
Right.
challenges and whatnot. And I don't want to sit here and say, oh yeah, dropped out of school, dropped out of college in my 20s, and I just started killing it and I was making a lot of money and all.
Right.
Look,
Right. Right.
I'm telling you guys, I just want you to understand that the person you're listening to is, I'm just not in a bad way, but I'm just a regular guy.
Mhm.
I'm a, everyone's journey is different.
Right.
Some people are gonna, come out of high school and kill it, come out of college and kill it, and some people are gonna be, I joke around with people because in my 30s, up until my early 30s, people would say, "Hey, what's your background?" I'd say, "Oh, my background is a stay-at-home son." I say that all the time, and then I saw it in the Hangover movie, and I'm like, "Hey, I think they took that from me." Yeah. Uh, so just so you know, I came up with that.
You were the first.
I was the first. So yeah,
Well,
that brought me to where I am today. But go ahead. Yes.
exactly. No, no, no. I was just saying like that's what I would just want to transition to. Okay. So now that we have that, right? We have this tragic thing to happen. It's a life check. And
And can I correct you on one thing real quick, if that's
yeah,
okay?
yeah, yeah.
It's tragic for sure,
Hmm.
but two things. One, we're all going to experience it at one point or another if we
Right,
haven't yet.
right,
And we're going to experience it multiple times, right? Like, I
right.
mean, my dad is still alive. Life is so unexpected.
Sure.
Um, but the second thing is, while, and I hope I'm saying this right, while it's tragic and it was definitely heartbreaking in the moment,
Hmm.
I do believe that there's always a blessing in disguise,
Right,
you know,
right.
because maybe where I'm at today, while where I'm at today is not where I thought I would be at this age. Obviously, I wish I was further ahead. And I know that if I stay consistent and I do the things that I need to do, of course, we can all truly live the life however we want to live by our own design. But
Right.
I also believe that sometimes things are the things that happen in our life are meant, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but are meant to happen. But the whole premise of it is that the plan that he has for us, there's going to be certain things, tragedies,
Hmm.
heartbreaks, whatever, problems, obstacles, whatever, that are going to happen in our life. And we have two choices. We can either succumb to those,
Hmm.
or we can use those to propel us to get to where we need to go. And I'll share a quick story because there was one day, and I heard this in a video before, but it resonated with me. I was going for a run like a year after my mom died, and I was running, and I had gone into this like really low place, and I was running, and I stopped because this thought came into me, and it's like, hey man, what are you doing with your life? I think this was 2021. It's like, what are you doing with your life? Like, I get it, your mom died, I get it, look, that's going to happen to everybody, we're all going to lose someone.
Hmm.
And he said, you're at a not he, this thought came into my head, and I had heard this before, so I don't want to take credit for it, but the thought came back into my head where it was like, you got two choices. You're at a crossroads in your life right now. And your two choices are, you can either continue on the path you're on and die with your mom, or you can use that and say, now I'm going to live for her.
Hmm.
What path are you going to choose?
Right.
So that at that point, I had said, okay, I'm going to get back on the grind. I'm going to do what I need to do. And, that's, so I just wanted to
No,
bring that.
like bro, like it's 100%. Like, it's about, we go through seasons in life, right? But they're meant to be seasons, right? And seasons change. I'm obviously from Texas, so we have there's an old country song. It's not an old country song, but it's a country song that says, if you're going through hell, just
Keep
keep
going.
going,
What
right?
song is that? Because I love country music. You know what? Afterwards, you can
We'll
send
look at.
when you're
I'll
off. Yeah,
send it
send
to
me the
you.
name
I'll
of the
send
movie.
it to you,
Yeah,
right? And it just says, man, if you're going through hell, man, just keep going. Just
yeah,
keep going, right? We're in seasons, and we're not meant to be. We're not when these seasons happen. We're not meant to, stay in them. We're meant to go through them, right? And a season
yeah,
is just a chapter in our life. To turn the chapter, and it is up to us, right, to decide, what path we take, right? Because that's one thing that, when we talk about faith, that God's given us, right? He's given us, we get to choose, right? We get to choose our path. We get to choose to follow or not follow. And because of that, like I said, that's where those blessings come about, right? That because those experience that we have that really changes our perspective, and we can grow and build off of that, right? But it's our choice to do it, right?
yeah,
It is our choice to do that. So no, I'm glad you said
yeah. So yeah, and I think that's the thing that separates us as humans from all other living creatures is we have that choice.
that. Mm-hmm.
We can choose, and that's why I firmly believe um anything we want to accomplish is possible. It's just, you know, what are you choosing to believe,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like, um, you know, I can I have a choice. We all have a choice. You lose someone, you go through a heartbreak, you go through a divorce, your business, you're thriving one day, and then all of a sudden your business, you lose everything the next day.
Mm-hmm.
We've got and I'm saying I know those are difficult situations, but we've all got choices. We can choose to, uh, you know, again, fall prey to that or succumb to whatever it is we're going through. We can choose to allow those circumstances to dictate our life, or we can choose to rise above it.
Right.
The, and that's where I think, you know, God has given us that ability. He's not going to sit there and say, hey, Joe, you're struggling, so I'm just going to give you a thriving business.
Mm-mm.
He's going to
No.
give you the choice. He's going to give you the ability to choose how you want to get out of it. Does that, you get what I'm trying to say?
No, it 100% makes sense because, I've, and I don't even remember where I seen this, but it was like, I prayed for patience, and God gave me obstacles to overcome.
Yeah.
I paid for strength, and God gave me, again, like, tough times. So he's not just going to give those things to you. He's going to allow you to, build those within you. So
I saw that in a Bruce Almighty.
yeah, well, hey, that may have been where it came from, but
Yeah.
but again, I don't think I've seen it from Bruce Almighty,
No, no, I know. I'm
but
just saying I
again,
remember seeing something like that.
but again, that's real, right?
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, we pray to win, hey, God, help me with my finances, and you win the lottery. That's not, that's not how it works, right? So no.
It's like sitting here saying, uh, affirmations, right? I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. But I'm going to sit here and watch TV all day.
Right.
You're not going to,
That's
the law, but
exactly
it's the law of attraction.
right.
On a, and I'm on this coaching session with Noah St. John, who's a motivational speaker. He wrote this book called The Book of Affirmations, where he takes affirmations and turns them into questions. Powerful. That's besides the point. But he was talking yesterday where he's like, hey, the law of attraction is a great concept, but it's me sitting here focusing on what I want and not taking action on it.
Mm.
Jim Rohn said it best: affirmations without action is delusion, or something like that, you know? And so it's more about just making the choice, but then doing the activities
Mm-hmm.
that are getting you step by step closer to that.
Right.
So
100%.
I agree 100% with what you're saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So now that we've had this shift in our in what, kind of in your path, right? So tell us what that shift has done for you
So in what regards?
in
Like,
your business. Like, so what changed after that moment during your run? Like, what did, but you, so we know what before looked, what after that run, what did it look like afterwards, and how did
yeah,
you get to where you're at now?
so a little background real quick. I'm 38. At 22, excuse me, I joined a company called LegalShield, which I'm still with them today. I've been with them for 16 years. I love what we do. Actually, Paul heard me talk about them
Yeah.
at the event.
Yes.
So even though I joined them in my 20s, when I was 22, like I said, I didn't do anything with my life in terms of taking necessary action and taking action consistently. After that turning point, that pivot in my life, after that run, I committed then to say, hey, you know what? I'm I, I need to I want to be more consistent with the actions that I take.
Mm-hmm.
Because doing, for those of you that are in sales or whatever the case is, it's like, hey, prospecting today because you feel good is great. But choosing to not prospect tomorrow because you don't feel like doing it is not a good thing. That's us allowing our emotions to determine our actions.
Mm-hmm.
I made a commitment and I still struggle with it. Look, you guys, I'm not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I made a commitment then to really force myself to not allow my emotions to determine the actions that I take. I really wanted to push myself to say, hey, I'm going to act despite how I'm feeling.
Right. No, that's
Right?
awesome. It's
Because
powerful.
that's consistency. I love to work out. If I go, if I want to get in incredible shape, I'm not going to go to the gym, on Monday and work out for 12 or 14 hours or 7 hours and then take the rest of the week off and expect to get in incredible shape if I do that over the course of a year.
Right.
That's not how it works. It's about working out a little bit, but doing it consistently every single day or 5 days a week, 6 days a week, whatever it is your goals are, right? Or it's like brushing your teeth. I'm not going to brush my teeth 14 times on Sunday and not brush the rest of the week.
Right.
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 I'm not going to take 7 showers on Sunday and not shower the rest of the week. I can take as many showers as I want on Sunday, brush as many times as I want on Sunday. If I don't brush for the rest of the week, by Tuesday, my breath is still going to stink
Right.
and my body is still probably going to stink.
Right.
So it's not about doing a lot in one day and not doing anything the next day. It's more about doing whatever you can, but being consistent about it every single day.
Right.
That's the compound effect.
Yeah, absolutely. Consistency and having incremental growth, because incremental growth is sustainable growth, right?
Yeah.
And then you can really grow from there and keep doing those things you did last week and multiply that growth with the growth that you have this week, and then you really start to really get that momentum going, as opposed to just hitting it one day and stopping. So yeah. I mean, if anybody has been in any type of sales environment or anything, they definitely can relate to that. I know I can.
Well, it's like the elephant example, right? How do you eat an elephant? You don't eat
One
an
bite at a time.
elephant. Exactly.
It's funny because that's the exact, I've used that so many times, right? So many times. And it's funny because I've never told you that, and to bring that up, man, that's just, it's
one bite at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of shifted in my mind. And it's still something that I have to work on because, again, we're all a work in progress. So, but now I'm at a point where it's like, okay, I'm not going to beat myself up if I didn't do the activity. I'm just trying to, like I said, I'm just trying to get better every day.
Right.
Trying to get better because I know that the better I get up here, I'm doing the same activity, and I'll show you this if I can write this out, and then we'll go into the next topic if that's okay.
Yeah.
So when I speak at events, so when I get asked to train at LegalShield events, I speak about this concept, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but it's this acronym. Can you see that?
Yep.
PAARL.
Yep.
Right? And so when I look at that, I'm like, this so P stands for philosophy. This first A stands for attitude. The second A stands for action. R stands for results, and L stands for lifestyle. This is a great way that I try to go back and plan, do review. So I look at the lifestyle that I have and I'm like, okay, if I'm not living the life I want to live, it's probably because I'm not getting the results that I need to get to live the lifestyle that I want to live.
Right.
Okay, if I'm not getting the results I need to get, let's look at the actions that I'm taking. Am I taking enough action? Am I taking the right action? Am I doing, so there's different factors. The actions that I'm taking, we call them income producing activity, IPA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to people, whatever the case is, right? If I'm taking if I'm taking action and I'm not getting the results I want to live the lifestyle that I live, then it's a couple of things. It could be I'm not taking enough action, or I'm not being consistent enough with the action. But then I have to look at the caliber of actions that I'm taking stem from the philosophy that I have. I'm sorry, from my attitude,
Right.
What is my attitude about the action? Is my attitude sour? Am I going and making a call or approaching someone with a negative attitude? And in my mind, I'm already thinking, this person's not going to buy from me. This person's
Right.
what do they know? That's going to reflect in the action that I'm taking. So I
Mm-hmm.
might be taking enough action, but my attitude might suck about the action that I'm taking. Well, if I have a bad attitude, I need to go back and look at my philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can work on this and build this up and have a better philosophy, it'll give me a better attitude, which means I'm taking the same actions, but I'm taking the actions as a different person.
Right.
I become a different person, then I'll get different results, which will give me the lifestyle that I want to live.
Right. Now, and you're right, though. It is about the philosophy because, the brain is a powerful, powerful machine. And, if whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. You're right. So
Yeah.
so because of that, right, going is really starting off at, really having, thinking that yes, we can make this work, and no matter how many phone calls we need to make or how many contacts we need to make, this is going to work, right? But you got to go into it with that mindset, right?
Yeah.
Because our mind is more like a calculator. It's about asking the right questions. It's about asking, instead of saying, why is this happening to me? It's, what do I need to do to get out of it, right? Why is my numbers low, as opposed to, how do I get my numbers better, right?
And your numbers, you know, um, I heard this from Jim Rohn. I'm a big Jim Rohn fan. If anybody's listening, it's ROHN. Big Jim Rohn fan, and he says, "Make up in numbers what you lack in skill."
right.
Nothing, nothing. I mean, if you're not a good closer, if you're not a good communicator, if you're
Mm-hmm.
not a good whatever, make it up in numbers.
Yep.
Call more people, talk to
Yep.
more people. I mean, that's any business. That's not just LegalShield or loans, or
Mm-hmm.
that's any business that you're in. The more
Right.
people you talk to, the more business you're going to get.
Yeah.
The better you're going to get.
Consistency is always going to be talent,
Yeah.
every time, every time.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. So, all right. So now that we've gone to this, you've made this, really, transition in your life. It brought you to where you're at. Now you're speaking at events, you're doing all these things. Tell us more about what you're at these events, what you're kind of, bringing to the events, and tell us more about your business.
Yeah. So, when Paul and I met at the Mindset Summit, I was asked to speak at this summit on behalf of LegalShield. And, I mean, I'm not going to go into too much of like a presentation on LegalShield, but I was asked to come in and talk about how our services are so valuable for people, whether they're business owners, realtors, loan officers, even your hardworking, average W-2 employed person, family, whatever, right? How our services are so beneficial because we're giving people, for me, I'll tell you kind of why I've stuck around with LegalShield for 16 years, if that's okay, because that kind of
Yeah,
brings
yeah,
me to where I'm at.
absolutely.
Is because I'm telling you, I can't, like, everybody that says, "Hey man, how long you been with LegalShield?" I've been with them for 16 years. Man, I have realtors, loan officers, other people from other companies that are like they stop in their tracks because they're blown away that they've met. It's rare to meet someone that sticks with one sales company for so long, right? Not that it's a sales company, I'm just saying that in very layman's terms.
With any company, period.
With any company. And the reason why why I love LegalShield so much is because we're making this whole premise of equal justice for all. I mean, it's not a reality. If you really think about it, equal justice for all is not a reality because you only get as much justice as you can afford.
Right.
But when, I mean, here's this company that came along 50 years ago and they're leveling the legal playing field.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now that average hardworking W-2 person who may not have ever had access to this country club, so to say, may not have ever had access to top quality attorneys on retainer, we're leveling that legal playing field, because it's this collective buying power of millions of people that pay every month that allows our members to have access to the best of the best law firms. So how that really resonated with me is, for me, yes, look, you guys, be completely candid with you. We all want to make a lot of money. We all want to have an incredible life. We want to have this incredible income and everything. But if you can't find something, at least for me, if I can't find something that I can really get behind, then it's just, I'm going with the motion, just
Right.
kind of hoping for the best. But I look at this and I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm a part of something where I'm actually making this idea of equal justice for all a reality for the masses,
Mm-hmm.
for giving, people the ability to fight back against little frustrations, big frustrations. I tell people from the trivial to the traumatic. I use the service all the time, not because I'm a bad person, but because I now have access to the service. I have
Right.
access to the resources. So that's kind of, a little bit about why I stuck around. There's a lot more to it, of course, but, you know, for me, it's one of those things where I looked at it and I said, man, you know what? I'm not very smart, in academically. I tell people I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I'm in the shed, right? Or I'm not the brightest bulb in the room, but I'm in the room.
Right.
And so I'm like, if I can get behind something that resonates with me, well, okay, I want to make a lot of money and I want to help a lot of people and leave a lasting impact. I want to change people's lives. Well, I can make a lot of money. People are promised this idea of equal justice for all, but they don't actually get to fulfill that. They don't actually get to live that promise.
Mm-hmm.
And now I get to be part of a crusade that's making that promise a reality for everyone.
Right.
So I always tell people I'm focused on the mission, not the commission. Because if I focus on the mission, the commission is going to follow no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So
No, that's amazing. And I feel like you're right. Like as far as leveling the playing field, I'm pretty sure we all have a situation or we know someone that's been in a situation to where if they had access to something like this, it would have gone, it would have gone much, much easier and simpler. Or, but again, it's like a circle of life, right? Because if that happens, it does no longer just affect like whatever's happening there. It's financial, it's relationships, it's all of those things. Like if something that you need that service and you don't have, it affects multiple things in your life, not just that one thing. And to be able to have
and
access to that, it's almost like you can breathe a sigh of relief knowing that, hey man, listen, I'm covered. Right.
and it's interesting that you say that because can I share a quick story on that
Yeah,
on what you
absolutely.
said?
Yeah.
So, you know, I've never been sued. I've never gone through a divorce. I joke around with people. I'm like, hey, in order to get divorced, you got to be married first. I've never been married, hopefully me and my girl get to a point where we take that next step. So for all the single people that are watching this, I'm sorry, I'm taken. I'm off the market. But I'm sure now a few people probably will jump off the podcast
Yeah,
because
they
they're
left. They
yeah, they,
left. That's all they were waiting for.
yeah, this attractive guy on here, and he's taken. Dang it, I'm joking, but no. There was a point I was gonna make, and I just completely lost my train of thought.
You were going to give us a story example.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, I've never gone through any of those traumatic things. I've never been sued. I've never committed a crime, anything like that. But there are little frustrations that happen in our lives. So, a lot of times, if you think about it, the stress that we have, most of us have probably never been sued or have never gone through a traumatic situation. But it's the little frustrations that compound over time that add up to the stress we have. So to give you an example, and this is just to share a story on how the service helped one of my members on a small scale. Forget about the big scales for a moment. I had a friend of mine, actually, I'll share my quick story. I had my phone company overcharge me $52 on my phone bill, right? I could have paid the $52 and been done with it, but I'm like, hey, I'm not going to pay this $52 for something I'm not using. And so they said, if you don't pay, we're going to send your name to collections. I'm like, okay, well, go ahead. I'll just fight it somehow. I just called the company. I was arguing all this stuff. And I was like, wait a minute, I have this thing called LegalShield. It was the first time I used it. Called my law firm and I spoke to the attorney and I said, hey, it's only a $52 situation. Now, mind you, I'm speaking to a law firm that's being paid well over $1 million a month by LegalShield, okay, that I have access to, or that our members have access to, right? And so anyways, I called him up and I said, hey, it's only a $52 situation. This phone company is charging me $52 or whatever. And the attorney said, he said, listen, it's not the amount of money. He said, it's the principle of the matter, right? It's the $52 may or may not be a lot of money, but it's the principle of the matter. And since you don't have to pay us hourly, this is part of your service. They stepped in and contacted the phone company on my behalf and got everything taken care of. The phone company apologized to me. They removed my name from collections. They said, please don't take any further legal action. Guys, for a $52 situation. Now, look, my cousin is an attorney. I could have asked her for help, but my cousin, she does corporate litigation and she does that in Boston. This may not even be, it may not be worth it for her to fire off a letter from her law firm for a $52 situation in an area that she doesn't even specialize in.
Right.
So when I say that, you know, I had somebody use it for a $6.49 situation against DoorDash. And I say that to say that it's not about the big things that happen in our lives, but it's also those everyday situations, those little seamless situations that come up where it's cheaper to just get ripped off and taken advantage of, or we brush it under the rug. Right. And I always tell people, look, it's easier for a company to take advantage of 1 million people for $1 than it is to take advantage of one person for $1 million.
Right. Right.
Because they know that if they take advantage of those 1 million people for $1, those 1 million people 9 times out of 10 are not going to retain a law firm to fight that $1 situation.
Man, listen. So as you're saying this, over the weekend, I had some family members reach out to me because, you know, it was had to do with some financial stuff, and and I'm not going to name any banks or whatever, but their bank basically just shut their account down completely and said, we're done with you, and here we're going to send you a check for the money that you have in here, and we're not going to give you any reason why we're doing it. We're just doing it. And he's running around like he doesn't have access to any of his money, and it's going to be weeks before he gets this check. And they just out of the blue just shut him down, and they're coming to me like, hey, what do I do about this? And I'm like, man, I don't have any clue what to do. I mean, like, you know, he says, you know, we've gone up, talked to the bank manager, all of these things, right? At the same time, there's another person sitting there and said, you know what, that same bank is doing this to me and this. And then all of a sudden, you know, we're at a birthday party and now we're in a little huddle of, hey, all of these things are happening to me. And I'm thinking, right. And now that you're saying this, I'm just like, anybody, any day, just going through life, these things are going to happen. And just to have access to something like that for those two that we were talking about, that would have just been amazing to have access to that. Man, it just everyday lives, everyday, you know, things that are happening. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing, especially, you know, not just the little things, but man, that guy, his whole life is on hold right now. But you got to think about it. Maybe we talked about like the circle of life, but what comes from that, right? Now he's getting all of his bills that are paying, you know, automatically. They're going to go bad. His credit's going to get ruined, and it's just a whole chain reaction of one thing that, you know, that you know, I don't know if it could have been avoided, but it could have been taken care of. You know, so yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that they're going through that. And, you know, again, that's just, that's what I tell people. It's the power of having this kind of access. It's it's a way to say, you know what are my rights in this situation?
Hmm.
Is that right? Is this fair? This is not fair. What can I do? And now we don't have to check our checkbook before we check our rights.
Right.
Because prior to that, look, and I'm not knocking anybody by any means. I have a lot of friends that are attorneys, and a lot of them have LegalShield themselves. Look, a lot of doctors have medical insurance
Yeah.
because they can only practice in one area of medicine and they can't really practice on themselves,
Mhm.
right? My sister is a doctor. It'd be ridiculous if I said, hey, you know what? If it would be, I mean, can you imagine if I called my health insurance agent and I said, hey, Darian, you know what? Darian Drake, she's awesome, guy. She lives in Bernie, Texas. If you need health insurance, let me know. She's cool. But here's my point. It'd be ridiculous if I called her up and said, hey, Darian, you know what? My sister's a doctor now, so let's go ahead and cancel my health insurance. Like,
Right.
you don't do that.
Right.
Same thing in the legal field.
Yeah.
And when you don't have to pay to talk to them, again, I joke around with people when I'm doing presentations for LegalShield, and I'm like, look, if you're legally lonely, just call the law firm because you're never going to get a bill for that conversation.
Well, that's
So,
the other thing, because if you do individually, if you go and let's say in that scenario they did hire an attorney, like what is that going to cost for every email, for every fax, for
consultation.
every consultation, every call? That bill is adding up, right? So yes, so not only is your life impacted by this thing that's happened and it's just completely just turned everything upside down now, and they have all your money.
Yeah.
Now I need to go get an attorney to fight it, but they have all my money.
Yeah. So I need to go fight it. And the money I was going to use to fight it is tied up in the institution that I'm fighting against because they won't release my money to me.
And but this is the thing, his credit cards, everything, they shut him down, right? And they won't give him a reason. And again, so you're in this situation and you're going to run up all this money to maybe fight and get whatever back, but now you got this big attorney's bill that you have to worry about as well. And and not everybody is just prepared to dish out thousands of dollars to go fight for something that you probably shouldn't have been dealing with in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's powerful. It's really powerful to know that when that situation comes up, because we talked about choice and how we think and how we feel, but man, just the confidence that you just bring when you know that, hey, when something like this happens, man, I got it. It's covered. That's amazing. And it's just it's a relieving feeling to know that you have someone like that on your side. Right. No, that's big time. I love it.
Yeah, man. So what else would you like to ask or know about me or?
So I guess the other thing is, how do we get involved if somebody is interested in your services? How do they contact you? What's the process? Do we have to jump through a bunch of hoops, or what is it like? What is the process?
Yeah, it's very simple. So I do tell people I'm not an attorney. I don't know the law.
Mm-hmm.
Just like a health insurance agent is not the doctor.
Right.
They just offer the service.
Mm-hmm.
So you can reach me on my cell, 714-458. Can I give my number on here?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Hey,
okay, cool.
any contact, email, whatever you want, man. Give it
Yeah.
out.
You can text me, call me 714-458-3901. You can find me on social media. I hopefully, Paul, you put the
I'll
spelling.
post them. I'll put everything on there for you.
My name is, it's a long name. It's Bhavan Deep. It's BhavanDeep, and my last name is Singh. So you can find me on social media. And the application process, if anybody's interested, look, reach out to me. I can send you more information. We can have a conversation. If you want to just kind of share with me, anything that you're going through, or maybe, maybe you're somebody out there that wants to be proactive. I like proactive people because proactive people, don't get me wrong, I like everybody. I shouldn't have said it like that. But what I mean is it's better to be proactive, right? It's like, we all have a home to live in. It'd be ridiculous if I came by and I said, hey, Paul, or hey, Joe, you want to buy a fire extinguisher? And you say, no, I don't need a fire extinguisher right now, but I'll call you when my house catches on fire.
Right.
That's not the best way to do it, right?
Right. No,
Um,
absolutely.
so I do like that people are proactive in getting the service, because it's something that it's better to have and not need than to need it and not have it.
Mm-hmm.
But the application process is very simple. Honestly, it takes 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It's just, like your name, personal information, as far as your address, email, phone number, family member's name, date of birth, and then how you want to pay. And it is there's no contractual obligation. So you pay it every month until you decide you don't want it anymore, which, most people, when they use it, they tend to keep it. I have people that still pay today for the service that enrolled 16 years ago when I first joined. And I think that was it. Was it? And then, yeah, if you want to contact me, shoot me a text, give me a call, 714-458-3901. We definitely have a conversation. And and the turnaround time. So when the application is processed, it goes into effect within 24 hours. So someone can get it today, and by tomorrow morning, they can start using it. And here's the cool thing. They also help with yesterday's problems. So
Wow.
you can have an issue today, or I'm sorry, you can have an issue yesterday, get LegalShield today, and start speaking to an attorney tomorrow about yesterday's problems.
Got it. Got it.
So there's a lot that it does. So
And
like I
no,
said,
that's powerful in itself, right? I mean, listen, I have some people that I think I need to talk to about this, and we need to have conversations about this, because, just like we said, just the, the situation we just talked about, that happens every single day. And the funny thing is, while we were talking about that situation, they were bringing up articles of why that same lender, that same bank, was doing that to multiple people, right? And it's just like, okay, and just, just like you said, like, do I want to go fight this, or do I just kind of just lay down and let it happen, because I don't have the money to fight it, right? Because I feel like people are getting taken advantage of all the time because they can, right? So no, that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, listen, man, I'm glad you came on. I learned a lot about it as well, and man, I'm interested in hearing more about it, individually as well. So, man, I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on board. We'll make sure that we'll link all of your contact information. So, if anybody wants to talk more one-on-one with Bhavan, please reach out, and or if you know someone that can benefit from this program, please reach out. Like I said, this is a service that I feel like, man, it just really takes the average person to it brings that, like you said, having an attorney that you can call on, that the average person just doesn't have, right? And know that whatever comes up, you have somebody to call, and listen, not like I don't love my family coming to me and asking me about this, but now I have a resource to give them, to say, hey, listen, this is where you need to go and who you need to talk to. So I love it, man. I appreciate it.
Like you said, there's only so much we can do, right? As an individual, if someone comes to me and, I'll be honest, if someone came to me and had this problem, any problem actually, because I have people come to me all the time, hey, what do I do in this situation? I'm like, you know what? You got talk to an attorney, because I can tell you what I think you should do.
Right.
I can tell you what sounds right,
Mm-hmm.
but what I think and what sounds right may not be what the law states.
Right.
Or may not be the right way to do something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's always better to talk to somebody that knows the law rather than coming to us. And I get it, because people come to you because you help them in finance, in loans, and you help them in certain things. You're a resource for people.
Right.
People come to us because we're resources for them.
Mm-hmm.
If someone came to me and they were in San Antonio or Dallas or Austin or wherever in Texas, and they said, hey, Bhavan, how do I qualify for a loan because I want to buy this house? Like, what am I going to tell them? I'm not going to sit there and say, okay, hold on, let me do some research real quick. Let me tell you how you can qualify for a loan. I'm going to say, you know what? That's not my area of specialty, but because you asked me, I have somebody that I trust, Paul in
Mm.
Dallas. Let me link you to him, right? Paul is going to help them because that's his area of specialty.
Right.
If I go to a health insurance agent and I say, hey, Darian, oh my God, my heart is hurting. Can you just tell me what you think is wrong with me? Look, I don't want to know what you think is wrong with me. If my heart is hurting, I want to go to somebody that can do the test, that can take a look at it, that knows exactly what I'm doing. Because what she might think is wrong with me could be a very disastrous situation or a
Right.
traumatic or tragic situation, right? So she would say, well, hey, Bhavan, you need to go talk to a doctor. It's the same thing here.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you what I think you should do, but at the end of the day, it's always better to talk to an attorney versus not.
Right. No, absolutely. And man, and just to have access to that. I mean, that's just to have immediate access to at any point in time, car accidents, legal, credit wise. I mean, all of those things that we can use attorneys for that we don't because or get taken advantage of by the ambulance chaser attorney or whatever that may be as well because hey, you've seen the guy's commercial, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's maybe looking out for you at the
Yeah.
same time. So no, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. That really, like you said, it really levels the playing field for the average person. And I
Yeah.
like it. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Thank you for having me, man. I mean, I tell you guys, going to these events, you never know who you're going to meet. You never know what kind of friendships you're going to make. I went to this event knowing one person, and that was the guy that put the event on. And then, of course, through that, I invited Gene. I connected Gene and so many others with with my friend. But man, you never know what kind of friendships you're going to make. And, to meet Paul and in that moment, just after a brief conversation, Paul, said, hey, I want to get you on my podcast, like that. I think to me, that's just so, it's not something that is appreciated enough because, you don't have to do this. There's so many other things you could be doing, but you have what I can tell is such a servant heart about yourself.
Thank you.
And so I just appreciate you asking me to be on here. So for me, this was a true honor and a privilege and a pleasure to grace this podcast with you.
Well, thanks, brother. I really appreciate you coming on. And like I said, what you have, I think a lot of people can benefit from it. And I want, anything that I can bring value to other people's lives, man. I want to show that. And like I said, just, for example, just this last weekend it happened and it's happening every weekend. It's happening every day, right? Everybody can benefit from this service. And I saw that and I was like, you know what? This can be a massive benefit to a lot of different people. And I need to let people know about it. So, man, I appreciate it. Thank you for coming. And thank you for sharing your story, not just about LegalShield, but man, your personal life. And, I really appreciate that. And that really means a lot to me. Really, really does.
Thank you, man. This was amazing.
Thanks,
Thank you
brother.
so much. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, guys. Listen. Again, we'll put Bhavan's information in the links. If you need his service, whether it's going forward or like he said from yesterday, let's let's get on the phone and let's make those contacts, guys, because I know a lot of people can benefit from this. So thank you again, brother. I appreciate you coming on board, and again, we'll make sure that everybody has your contacts.
Awesome. Thank you, man. God bless you, man.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.